Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Create to Elevate. My name is Tanisha Bulla, and I have the pleasure of being the Club Growth Director for District 44 of Toastmasters, and we are so happy to have you here this evening. In true Toastmasters fashion, we start all of our meetings and events by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by our district mission. So you can all remain on mute as I recite the Pledge of Allegiance, or you can also observe a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we will recite our district mission. We build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. Now, there are a couple of housekeeping rules, not too many, just a few for you all. One, in true virtual format, please make sure that you keep your phone or your computer muted unless you are speaking. We want to reduce any background noise that we may have during the event this evening. Please also place all of your questions in chat. So we do not want you to hold on to those questions until we have our Q&A portion at the end of the meeting. We want to make sure if you have a burning question that we absolutely get that answered for you during some point of the event. So please feel free to place all of your questions inside of the Zoom chat. We ask that you be present, attentive, and engaged. We're so thankful to you that you've taken your time to spend with us at District 44 Toastmasters. So we want to make the best use of your time. And to help us do that, we would love you to be attentive and engaged. And last but not least, we want you to have fun. Toastmasters is a fun place. We do learn, but we also have a good time. And we hope that you'll see that by the end of our event. Here is a quick just overview over our agenda. So we've called the meeting to order, and I'm going to go over some opening remarks. We'll see some information from Toastmasters International about how you can build confidence with Toastmasters. You will hear a presentation about how you can develop your leaders from within your company or within your community. We'll dig into the club experience and what a Toastmasters meeting truly looks like. We also have some Toastmaster testimonials queued up for you all this evening. We will also have a Q&A section. So that's when you get to ask all of your questions to all of our team here. And then we will close our meeting out with some closing remarks. So before we get started, I want to hear from you all out there in the group this evening. And I want to know, what is Toastmasters? So some of you may know a great deal about it. Some of you this may be the first time you've heard about it, but I want to know, what do you believe that Toastmasters is? Please place your answers in the chat. What is Toastmasters? I like that. A safe place to develop your skills. I like it. So that's kind of a safe haven to develop skills. What else? Anyone else? Ooh, we see a couple there. A great place to grow and develop leadership. Absolutely. Oh, Anne, I love your response. So Toastmasters is a nonprofit organization meant to develop leadership and communication skills. Very thorough answer, Anne. Thank you so much for that. I love that. We have Mitchell that said an organization based on communication and leadership. So I love all of those answers. And me and my team want to make sure that we provide you with exactly what Toastmasters is by the end of this event. So now that we talked a little bit about what we think Toastmasters is, I also want to know from you all, what do you expect to learn? What intrigued you and brought you here this evening in order to say, hey, I want to hear more about Toastmasters and potentially starting a new club? What drew your attention? You can drop those answers inside of the chat as well. How does it help us develop? Ooh, I like that. Great question. Anne said she's trying to rebuild a club, need new ideas. Okay, Anne, I love that. Mitchell said networking. Absolutely. Toastmasters is a great place for networking as well. So I love those answers. And again, as we go throughout the presentation this evening, we're definitely going to make sure that we answer those questions for you and show you how Toastmasters can be beneficial to you, your company, and or your community. So I know we've talked a little bit in the chat about what we thought Toastmasters was, but I thought it would be a good idea to hear from Toastmasters International about exactly what Toastmasters is meant to be. So let's listen to Build Confidence with Toastmasters.
Toastmasters International is a nonprofit organization that has helped millions around the globe build confidence with public speaking. Since 1924, our Learn by Doing program will give you improved communication, public speaking, and leadership skills, all while building confidence for your next big presentation, whether it's in person or online. From those looking to change the world to those just looking to give a boost to their career, we know how to help. Build confidence in you. Visit toastmasters.org/find to connect with one of our over 16,000 clubs, meeting online or in person.
All right, awesome. There are a couple of things I want to point out from that video. One, yes, you heard correctly. It did say 1924. So Toastmasters is not a new organization. Toastmasters has been helping build communication as well as leadership skills for going on 100 years. I also want to point out that they mentioned there are about 16,000, I believe, clubs, which I really love to hear and hearing that number. So we are an international organization. It's not just local. We have Toastmasters clubs all over the world. And it also said whether you're looking to change the world or just to hone your skills. So there's a vast array of opportunity for any and everyone, depending on what you would like to do inside of the Toastmasters umbrella. To tell us in a little bit more detail about Toastmasters, I want to call up to our virtual lectern, our club extension chair, Natalie Higgins, DTM. And for those that are not aware with our lovely acronyms, that stands for Distinguished Toastmaster. That is the highest award that you can receive within the Toastmasters program. With that, I'm going to hand the floor over to Natalie to tell us all a little bit more about Toastmasters. Natalie, the floor is yours.
Well, good evening, current Toastmasters and potential soon-to-be Toastmasters. Welcome to this event. I'm happy to present Develop Your Leaders Within presentation for you this evening. I know that everyone in this room is here for a reason, and you came to gain something and gain some information about Toastmasters. And I know after this presentation, you'll have all of your answers that you need. So today I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about Toastmasters International. And what is Toastmasters? Well, let me start by explaining a little bit more. As Tanisha already said, Toastmasters is a worldwide nonprofit educational organization that empowers people to become more effective with their communication and their leadership skills. We are a network of over 350,000 members in more than 1,600 clubs across 141 countries. The organization has been around for nearly 100 years and has built a strong reputation for training individuals in public speaking, communication, and leadership. Over the years, the organization has evolved to meet the needs of today's professionals. Toastmasters International is the most effective provider of dynamic, high-value communication and leadership skills development in the world. So who uses Toastmasters? Next slide, please. Toastmasters clubs are offered by companies all over the world and throughout several industries. Over half of Fortune 500 companies offer clubs to their employees. Some of the biggest names in the world host Toastmaster clubs. Have you heard of Apple, Google, Toyota, Coca-Cola, Disney, Boeing, and that's just to name a few. Toastmasters has helped all levels of professionals. It gives career advancers the skills they need for advancement. It gives mature managers the tools to overcome obstacles in their career paths as well. It helps young professionals master the soft skills that 90% of employees are looking for And Toastmasters provides international professionals the chance to improve their speaking and writing skills. Employees and CEOs alike have had Toastmasters transform their careers. And here's what a few members had to say about their experiences. You can see on this slide. The benefits of forming a Toastmasters club. Now you may be thinking, how do I start a Toastmasters club? Well, we have the answer for you. Starting a Toastmasters club can help in so many different ways. You help to foster your career advancement, but also the advancement of the members within that club to build their communication and their leadership skills. A Toastmasters club can help augment existing training programs. So if there's a corporate company that has training programs, you can use Toastmasters to enhance the programs that the companies have to help better the employees. Meetings are a great place for employees who normally don't interact with each other to get to know one another. Have you ever heard of someone down the hall and you've never really had an opportunity to connect with that person? Having a Toastmasters club within the organization gets you to really to connect with your fellow coworkers, the fellow employees that you work with. But also, if you have a club within the community, getting to know people, connecting with people, networking with people. Offering a Toastmasters club also encourages employee retention within a company. Now more than ever, employees are looking to build skills, and a Toastmasters club is a cost-effective way to do that. Employees will see your Toastmasters club as an added benefit that your company offers. Through all of this, you will strengthen the leadership bench within your company and within yourself, within the community. The skills that you gain, you can use anywhere from your career, your community, even within your family. Sometimes those skills really come into handy when you're dealing with certain family members. Next slide, please. Employees within a company, but not only within a company, but within a community, through Toastmasters, members will learn several skills that they can translate to their jobs. Employees will learn how to conduct an effective meeting. If you're asked to conduct a meeting and you've never had the opportunity to do so, Toastmasters will give you those skills and practice so that you will be able to conduct a meeting and do so effectively. You'll also save your company time and money. You'll have the opportunity to enhance in your listening skills and sharpen your presentation skills. The Toastmasters Club will boost team collaboration, and along the way, employees will learn to guide successful teams and take and implement feedback. How can we get better if we're never getting the feedback we need to grow? In Toastmasters, you get the feedback you need to grow. Now let's talk a little bit about the Toastmasters Club experience. What does that look like? What do you do in a Toastmasters Club meeting? Well, clubs normally meet once a week, but some clubs meet every other week. So it's really up to the members of that club to determine the frequency of their meeting. Now, once you're in the club meeting, the members have an opportunity to give a prepared speech, or you can speak impromptu. Because sometimes you may be called upon your boss to speak and you may not have weeks to prepare. And Toastmasters can help you build on that impromptu speaking when you don't have all the time to prepare for it. After you give your speech within the club, you receive honest, encouraging, structured evaluations from your peers who will have the ability to implement the feedback that you get at your next speech. So when you get that feedback, you have an opportunity to use the feedback that you received in your next speech so you can continue to grow and learn from what you're doing speech after speech. Each meeting also has volunteer leadership roles for members to fill, such as Toastmaster of the evening, evaluator, odd counter, and grammarian. This allows the members to serve in a variety of leadership roles, and you pick up essential skills along the way. Plus, new members have an access to a mentor. If you would like a mentor, you have access to a mentor to help guide you as you give your initial speeches. So what is the Pathways Learning Experience? Now, Pathways Learning Experience is Toastmasters' redesigned educational program. Pathways is something that all new members have access to when they become a member of Toastmasters International. And Pathways has 5 core competencies and 11 specialized learning paths. So you have an opportunity to choose a path when you join Toastmaster. Now, each new member receives a free path when you join Toastmasters, and you're able to complete the different projects within the path. You first log into Basecamp, and that's where the pathways are stored, and you take an assessment. Each person can take an assessment, and the system will recommend 3 paths for you. Now, you can either choose the path that they recommend for you, or you can choose the path that most interests you. If you know what you need to work on and you know what you want to, the skills that you want to hone in on, you can choose the path that, speaks to you. All resources and projects are available online, or you can print some of the paths. Best of all, you can work at your own pace. This is a self-paced program, and you learn valuable skills that will translate to your professional and personal life. The combination of the Pathways learning experience with the supportive environment in the club really makes Toastmasters a powerful tool. Next slide. So let's take a little glimpse of Pathways. Here you can see a little bit about how Pathways works. Everything is centered around the club meetings. So members can go home and spend time in the Pathways. They choose their path and they see what their current assignment is. So you have an assignment and they give you what you need to work on for that assignment. Within each path, there are 5 levels. So every path, every level has 5 levels. Employees or members will start by mastering the fundamentals, then learning your style, increasing your knowledge, building skills, and finally demonstrating your expertise. This allows members to build skills at their own pace. Now let's take a closer look into Pathways. Here's a glimpse of what Pathways looks like. So as you can see here, there are 11 paths, and there are 5 core competencies. More paths are being worked on as we speak in Toastmasters International. So the 5 core competencies are public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and confidence. Confidence is unique because it cannot be taught, but it is gained in every path. So every path, every project, you're gaining more and more in your confidence, and it will show through in work, in your life, in your relationships. In each path, employees and members learn different competencies. For example, if someone wanted to work on public speaking, interpersonal communication, and management, then the leadership development path is a good path to take because you would work on all of those skills. Or let's say you wanted to work on persuasive influence. That sounds good. Well, the core competencies that they would learn with that path is public speaking, strategic leadership, and interpersonal communication. In all of these paths, there are 300 competencies that members can learn. So how much does this cost? Let's talk about the money. Show me the money, right? Well, this is not something that will break the bank, not at all. Toastmasters clubs are very inexpensive to set up. And unlike other programs, the learning never stops. I've been in Toastmasters for 12 years and I'm still learning, so it never stops. It offers the most cost-effective way to learn. And you can learn locally or you could learn virtually. You have the option now to set up your club to meet face-to-face, or you could meet virtually or hybrid, where your club can do a face-to-face and a virtual component. So those are all the options you have when setting up your club. No more having to send employees, if you're in a company, sending them to an expensive conference where you have to pay for airfare and hotel rooms. No, with Toastmasters, you can bring the learning to the company, you could bring it within your community, your school, or online. There's no other company that offers what Toastmasters offers in this model. It costs $125 to charter a brand new club. $125, not $1,000, not $5,000, $125. And a new club requires 20 members to start. And there's a $20 new member fee for members to join. So if you're brand new to Toastmasters, you would pay that one-time $20 new member fee. But if you're a returning member, then you wouldn't have to pay that $20. After that, after the club starts, after it charters, then every 6 months, the members pay $45 every 6 months. That breaks down to $7.50 a month. That's a cup of coffee, $7.50 now. Keep in mind that sending one person to an expensive 3-day Dale Carnegie seminar is almost $2,000. So just compare those numbers. Toastmasters is here to help. Now, you may be thinking, it just sounds like a lot of information. It sounds like a lot I have to do. Well, you are not alone. You have a wonderful District 44 here to help you. Each new club that starts is assigned a club mentor and a club sponsor to help them the first 6 months of charter. They will help with helping to lead the meetings and helping the club members to get to a strong, great start. You'll receive a step-by-step guide on how to build a Toastmasters club, and this is from Toastmasters International. And you'll also receive a charter kit. Now, in the charter kit, you get essential materials such as guides and handbooks and different materials to recruit more people. So this is everything provided to you when you start a Toastmasters club. Also, district conferences are held annually, and officers within the club get trained twice a year. So there are many resources and tools to help you. So let's start your club today. What do you need to do? You want to sign up? Well, here's what you need to do to start your club today. First, you need to identify 20 people to start a new Toastmasters club, 20 people. Next, you need to think about a club location. If you want to meet face-to-face, you need to think about where your club can meet. Or if you're going to meet virtually, just ironing out those details, or if you want to do a hybrid club. So this is something that the club as a whole will decide. After you figure out those details, the next step is to fill out and submit the application to organize your club along with the charter fees that we talked about earlier. The club extension team for District 44 will be here to guide you every step of the way. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our wonderful club growth director, Tanisha Bulla, DTM, or myself, Natalie Higgins. And I just wanted to leave you with this quote that I really feel sums up what we've talked about, what I've presented to you today. I mean, if you're here in this meeting tonight, you came because you're interested in starting a club or reviving a club. And I wanted to leave you with this quote by Steve Jobs. If you are working on something that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. If you are working on something that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you. If you're here tonight, you're here for a reason. Let that vision of overcoming your public speaking fears pull you to start this club and give the Toastmasters to other people who need Toastmasters. At this time, I would love to turn our meeting over to our lovely club growth director, Tanisha Bulla, DTM.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natalie, for all of those beautiful nuggets. I took a bunch of great things from that. One, I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel. There's already something that I can lift and shift and promote and use in my own individual life. I am all for it. And that's what Toastmasters is. Our founders really were thoughtful about all of the aspects of communication and leadership and have put together a well-rounded program. We've even enhanced that, as Natalie mentioned, over the years. Now we're all online with pathways. So it's truly an amazing program. And again, not a lot of heavy lifting on your end because there's already an educational program put into place within Toastmasters. Now, Natalie mentioned something about club meetings, and I wanted to dig into that just a little bit deeper because we get a lot of questions about, so what happens during a Toastmasters meeting? I know I'm going to learn about leadership and I'm going to learn about speaking, but how is the sausage made? What actually happens in the true meeting? And I wanted to give you all a glimpse into the club experience.
Hello, I'm Stacy. Thanks for visiting Toastmasters International, where more than 4 million people have become more confident speakers and leaders. They did so by visiting a Toastmasters club in their company or community. When you visit a club, you'll find 3 things. Members give speeches, they take on meeting roles, and they have a great time learning. There's no designated teacher in a Toastmasters meeting. Instead, much of the learning happens by doing a particular task, such as giving a formal speech or fulfilling a particular meeting role. Ready to visit a club? It's free, and you can find one near you on the Toastmasters website at www.toastmasters.org. The purpose of the meeting roles is to help the members improve their speaking and leadership skills by providing feedback and evaluation. There are 7 different meeting roles: Toastmaster of the Day, Awe Counter, Grammarian, Timer, Evaluator, Table Topics Master, and General Evaluator. Every meeting is started by the club president, who introduces the Toastmaster of the Day. The Toastmaster of the Day is the host of the meeting. Fulfilling this role is great practice for leading meetings. The Toastmaster begins by introducing people who will fill other meeting roles for the day. He or she acts like an MC and keeps the meeting flowing smoothly and on time. Many clubs use an awe counter to document the number of filler words members use while speaking. At the end of each meeting, the awe counter reports how many ahs, and other similar words each speaker used. This helps members become more aware of unintended words or sounds they make when they speak. The grammarian helps members expand their vocabularies. One of the grammarian's duties is to provide a word of the day and its definition. If a member uses the word of the day or says something well, the grammarian calls attention to it. As the name implies, the timer records the exact length of each speech. He or she also uses timing lights to help speakers stay within their allocated time limits. The general evaluator takes notes throughout the meeting and reports back to everyone, giving specific feedback on how well the meeting flowed and also on how future meetings might be improved. The general evaluator also calls for reports by the awe counter, grammarian, and timer. In every club meeting, there are at least 2 members who present speeches. These speakers don't just stand up and start talking. They use the guidelines in their designated education manuals to prepare their presentations and reach the objectives for each speech. Every speaker who has prepared speeches in advance enjoys one of Toastmasters' greatest benefits: evaluation. Think of it as having a friend watch you practice a speech and then give you helpful feedback. The speaker usually meets with an evaluator before the meeting and asks the evaluator to pay attention to certain aspects of the talk. After all the speeches are done, the evaluators present their feedback in front of the club, covering areas such as, did the speakers use their hands to gesture well? Did they control their voices throughout the speeches? What did they do especially well, and what are some ideas for improvement? In addition to prepared speeches, a few minutes are set aside for table topics. This is often the most challenging, but also the most fun part of our meetings. During table topics, a series of questions or speaking topics are presented, and members are selected to respond on the spot. This is excellent training for those situations that come up in everyone's lives, where we have to think fast and say just the right thing. It might be a job interview, a sales meeting, or a dinner conversation. Table topics are great for practicing and honing the skills of impromptu speaking. Now that all the reports have been made, the president calls the meeting to a close. Everyone joins Toastmasters with a personal goal. Maybe it's a goal to become a more competent presenter, or learn how to run a meeting, or think faster on your feet. Whatever it is, you can achieve your goal if you participate. So, what's your goal? For more information on the club experience, please visit a Toastmasters club. To learn more about how you can become a better speaker and leader, visit www.toastmasters.org. To find a Toastmasters meeting near you, visit the Find a Club section at www.toastmasters.org.
All right. So that gives you a bit of a breakdown of what takes place within a Toastmasters meeting. As you heard throughout the video, there are multiple opportunities for honing your skills, whether that be your listening skills, because as an evaluator, you need to listen and then respond with your feedback, working on your leadership skills as the Toastmaster of the day and leading a meeting to its fruition. So there are so many opportunities each and every meeting for you to develop. And that's one of the amazing things about Toastmasters. Now, we don't want you to just take our word for it. We do want to have some Toastmasters testimonials. We have a few individuals in the room that are going to tell you a little bit about their experience. So I'm going to hand over the virtual platform to one of our Club Extension Committee members, Toastmaster Barry Wells, who is going to run our Toastmasters testimonial segment. Barry, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much, DTM Tanisha Bullitt. It's wonderful to be here tonight with the rest of the team. And for those of you who are here to participate and learn about how to start a corporate club at your organization, we're delighted that you decided to join us. We've heard quite a bit from both Natalie as well as Tanisha in terms of the slideshow presentation as well as the video. But we also thought it would be helpful for you to hear experiences from members who have also been a part of corporate clubs. And we're delighted that we have two Toastmasters who are going to share their experience with being a part of our organization. First, we're going to hear from Jennifer Leeson. Jennifer actually is an HR technology analyst with Cox Automotive and has been there for a year and a half. And Cox Automotive does have a Toastmasters club, and Jennifer is a member of that club. She believes, or rather she made her icebreaker speech. That's the first speech that you do. We learned about the pathways earlier. So no matter what pathway you choose, everyone starts with what we call an icebreaker. And actually she did or made her icebreaker presentation last month, and it's called Loving Life. So we won't have a chance to hear her Loving Life presentation, but we will have a chance to hear from her in terms of her experience. She is an avid concert goer and has attended this year alone 31 indie rock concerts. So I think she is definitely on a roll this year. With December coming up, she might even make 35. So we've got our fingers crossed. But Jennifer, if you would please come to the podium and turn your camera on if it's not on, and your microphone, and let's hear from you and share with us your experience of being a Toastmaster.
Well, thank you so much, Toastmaster Barry. I am Jennifer Leeson. I am with Cox Automotive, which I've been with for a year and a half as an HR technology analyst. Let me rephrase that, a senior HR technology analyst. And I'm coming to you live from actually New York today, so I'm not in my normal place, so it feels a little bit off. However, I am glad to be able to participate when Jessica asks me. When Jessica asks, I say yes. And as so happens, I had the good fortune to come across Jessica's profile on LinkedIn promoting our Toastmaster group, and I was all in. I couldn't wait. I was surprised that we had one with Cox Automotive. I had no idea. So I took the leap. We were just implementing a new system called Workday, and the cusp of it going over to the August was just perfect timing, and got highly involved from the get-go, taking on a few different roles. And I want to say I love to be the DJ. I wonder why that is. And I really wanted to do the humorous, I call it humorous interpretation, because I kind of have a humor side streak. However, I thought it'd be probably advantageous to do more of the pathway of the dynamic leadership and hone in on those skills that are so important to us, those that are important, such as leading a team, having a meeting, pacing myself, slowing down, which is something that I have a challenge of because I have so much to share and so much to say. One of the main reasons I joined our Toastmasters was to gain skills as presenting and meeting new people and challenging myself And I've been able to do all that with Toastmasters and interacting, learning from others. We are all connected. The networking has been, I have to think, one of the most amazing parts, because during the day I sit behind a screen and I'm sitting there typing away with Excel spreadsheets, which for some of us on the analytics side do enjoy that, but I enjoy my creative side too. So I get to do that with sharing presentations. And when I'm not doing that at work, I'm also involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters at Cox. We have that, and also one of our employee resource groups called Diversability. And so, and then when that's not happening, I enjoyed this time of being part of Toastmasters. It's like the Brady Bunch, seeing everyone, or there's another show that I used to watch, but I'm going to date, I already dated myself with the Brady Bunch. So Romper Room is the other one. So I'd like to leave with a Dr. Seuss quote, which is, if you have not, you should. These things are fun, and fun is good.
Excellent. And thank you so very much, Toastmaster Leeson. And I love that you ended with a quote, Dr. Seuss, and there's no dating that, because everyone loves Dr. Seuss. And as you were speaking, I was reflecting on, my goodness, here you are traveling, you're not at your home location, you're in New York, and yet you're still here. And that just speaks to the dedication that you and so many other members have. And I think the strangest location that I heard a Toastmaster speak from was the day after she had her baby. She was still in the maternity ward and she judged the speech contest. So not to say that, we compare, but, whether it be New York and traveling or in the maternity ward, Toastmasters rise to the occasion and do what they need to do to support the group globally as well as internationally. So thank you for that. Our next Toastmaster who we're going to hear from is Yolanda. And Yolanda believes that every journey begins with one decision. And she made a decision 17 years ago that has allowed her and drawn her to Toastmasters. I don't know that I've met anyone who's been a member for 17 years. So that's quite a distinction. And Yolanda, thank you for staying the course. She is a full-time e-commerce entrepreneur. She is the mom of 4 children and has 1 fur baby. Not sure if that's a cat or a dog, and she may give us some insight on that. So why don't we welcome Yolanda, who is a distinguished Toastmaster as well, and she is going to share with her experience with being with Toastmasters. DTM Yolanda, please take us away.
I was on mute. Good evening, all. Hello, hello, hello. As you heard, my name is Yolanda Johnson, or Yolanda J, when it comes to speaking and in speaking circles. I am a proud Toastmaster junkie. I'm excited to share my Toastmaster journey with you tonight. It all started as a new employee of a nonprofit organization over 17 years ago. I was invited to a meeting and was intrigued from the very first experience. I wanted to be a part, but when I looked over the room, I remember feeling that the majority of the room was in top leadership positions at the organization. But then I quickly learned, and it was kiboshed basically, that the meeting was actually a club and welcome all levels of experience. And so from there, I dived right in. A fun fact about my first club is that it was the Carter Center Toastmasters. And at the time that I joined, we were the only club that had a former president of the United States as an active member. So here I was, just a secretary, and the former POTUS practiced his communication skills. So after leaving that amazing organization for a flashy new HR position, I tried hard to continue to stay active and engaged, but due to the distance and the travel and a new job and those responsibilities, I just wasn't able to do it. But because I saw the value and craved the environment that Toastmasters creates, I brought Toastmasters to my new Fortune 500 company. And because the company had 2 locations, we eventually began 2 clubs within that organization. Listen, the members today are still thriving, and I've been long gone. Over the last 17 years, the skills that I have developed and even sharpened has helped me not only advance in my career, because when I was working in HR, I became known as Miss Toastmasters. I was frequently called on by the C-suite executives to lead workshops and facilitate meetings and events. But my Toastmaster journey did not stop with that Fortune 500 company. As I left to begin my own business, I also began a club at my local church. And like I said, as an entrepreneur, I'm gathering interest now among other entrepreneurs to start yet another club. So basically, wherever I am, if there's a need, I suggest Toastmasters. Essentially, Toastmasters has helped me in every single area of my life, personally, in business, in my civic life, and in my community. So my journey to build my own confidence not only built confidence of mine, but has subsequently trickled down to all the people that I've helped over the 17 years. Back to you, Toastmaster Barry.
Thank you so very much, DTMJ. Well, you know what? That actually sounded like a bunch of letters. So I made the Johnson J and DTM. I got it. We're doing something new here. I love it. And for those of you who were listening to her, did you notice her inflection? Did you notice the way that she used her voice to draw us in and keep us in? What about the story with Jimmy Carter, and that at the time they were the only club, at least in the United States, that had an actual president, former or current, coming to the club to practice his speech? How cool is that? These are different techniques that you are seeing and witnessing right before your eyes. And whether it be inflection in your voice or whether it be a quote at the end of your speech that Natalie did as well, these are all techniques that over the course of the days and the months and hopefully the years when you join, that you'll be exposed to, and that you can make them a part of your speaking repertoire and use them as you go forward. So these were just two of our speakers who were kind enough to give us their experiences related to Toastmasters, and we were delighted to have them. And hopefully this will encourage you to make the next move and go ahead and sign your organization up to host and to have a Toastmasters club of your own. I'll now turn the podium over to Jessica Smith, who is also with Cox Automotive, and she is going to take care of questions and answers. So Jessica, please take us away.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Barry. I appreciate the intro. And I just wanted to see if we have any questions. Feel free to come off of mute or put it in the chat. Turn on your cameras, leave off your cameras, however you want, but let's hear your questions. I know you guys have to have some questions. Wow, we must have did a really good job explaining everything, no questions, and everyone's just kind of ready to go then. Is that right?
Toastmaster Smith, I have a question. And I was just thinking, when we were speaking earlier about in order to start a club that 20 members are needed. And I was wondering, well, if a person is here and they don't necessarily have 20 or they hadn't thought about it, this requirement of 20 is new. I was wondering, is there anyone who could speak to how you might go about either advertising, promoting, or getting those 20 so that your club can actually begin?
I'll let you take that one, Tanisha.
Absolutely. I'm happy to take on that one. So there are a couple different techniques. One, as we mentioned earlier, you are never in starting a Toastmasters club alone. When I tell you, you have an army that is behind you to help you along the way, I am so sincere. So those that will help you bring your club to life are some of the members that are on the line today. So our club extension committee will help you with figuring out the best way to advertise to your particular market. I will say that advertising looks a little bit different depending on what type of club that you want to start. The way that we go to market and talk about Toastmasters in the workplace is different than we go about in the community. For example, Yolanda's talked about starting a club at our church. there are different skills that the members of the church are working on sometimes than those that are in the workplace. So the advertising looks a bit different. But I will say that Toastmasters has something for everyone. That makes it really easy for us to publicize. If we think about communication, we are communicating each and every day. I am a wife and a mother, so I live and breathe communication from the moment that I open my eyes. I am employed as well at Bank of America, so I use my communication skills there as well. And along the way in meeting and greeting people when it comes to networking. So having that ability to start up a conversation with someone that I didn't know was something that I didn't have pre-Toastmasters. I was terrified of impromptu speaking. We talked about the table topic segment of a meeting where we work on the spot speaking. That's exactly why I joined Toastmasters. I was perfectly fine talking to a group of thousands and thousands of people if I knew what I was talking about. But asked me to speak up in a meeting when I wasn't prepared to do so, asked me to give a toast at a wedding when you didn't inform me in advance, and I would be shaking in my boots. Those are the things that Toastmasters can help you with. And we have a lot of materials and promotion items that help you with talking to and getting that club member number up to those 20 that you need. A great question, Toastmaster Barry.
Anyone else? I don't see anything in the chat. Are there any other questions that you can think of?
Hey, Toastmaster Jessica, I've got a question for you.
Yes, David.
If we wanted to start a new club, so how do you handle like the different leadership roles, the president, vice president, education, when you're starting brand new? I hear that there will be support, obviously, but I'm assuming that you also have to get people identified and get them for those roles. And I can't imagine the first meeting when people who don't understand anything about Toastmasters, the flow and how to assign all those roles.
I can take that one as well to start. And if anyone wants to jump in from there, you can. So again, we mentioned having that army that's going to help you, but we're also going to talk about and teach what each club officer role does, which makes it really helpful for those 20 members that are thinking about joining the club to kind of see where they fit in. I normally like to vol-inspire, as we like to call it, people that are looking to hone particular skills based on the role. So for example, if I'm talking to a potential corporate club and I know that there are members of management that want to hone their management skills, well, the president role fits really, really well and marries well with learning leadership skills because you're leading a team of individuals. I actually leveraged the president role as well as district leadership later on for that capability. In my role at Bank of America, I didn't have direct reports and I didn't have a way to get that experience. But by being a president and then as well continuing on to district leadership, I was able to get that experience and translate that over to the professional world. So that's a little bit of what we attempt to do. We walk you through what each role does, and then we take a look at the body and then ask people to volunteer from that perspective based on what they're looking to learn and how they're looking to grow. But again, you have those club sponsors for 6 months. And then you also have a club mentors for a year after you charter. So even after you've elected those people, typically, even when they've raised their hand, they still don't really know what they're doing. But what comes into play with that is that Toastmasters Leadership Institute training that we talked about as well. So twice a year, we hold a district-wide training for every single specific club officer role that allows those particular people to get honed in their particular task and what they should be doing. And that helps them as well in seeing when we get to the second half of the year and we do the second training, okay, what worked well and where do we need to change course as we're going throughout the year?
Awesome. Very good. Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure.
And Tanisha, just to kind of piggyback off of that, would you say that it is best practice that as you're having those conversations and kind of getting together those 20 people that you think would be interested in that, you're going to explain what Toastmasters is. Maybe they'll have gone to a meeting or two. There may be some people that you have in mind for certain roles that you could suggest, like you mentioned, certain roles that could fit with some of their goals that they have. And then as your first 2, 5, 7, I don't know how it would work, meetings, you vote in your leadership team? Is that kind of like the picture?
Absolutely. There could be potential for two people vying for one role, right? So you need to figure out who's going to take over that role. So that's where the voting aspect comes into play. And voting is a huge part of Toastmasters, right? We're doing things as a group. It's not a dictatorship. We look at it really as your safe space and safe haven. And in order for it to be that spot, everybody's opinion needs to matter. Everybody's vote needs to matter. So in those circumstances, you would hold a vote and vote in your club officers. We also have an officer installation ceremony when we have our district leaders come and formally install those people, which is a really nice touch into getting them on their way and along their journey to being club officers. A great question. Thank you for that, David.
Anyone else? And I know sometimes if you're like me, 10 minutes after the meeting's over, you think of a question, please feel free to just reach out and we'll certainly get you an answer to your question if it comes up later. Tanisha?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jessica. And thank you to everyone that asked questions. Or questions were great. And hopefully we've answered them in a manner in which you can move forward. So I want to just recognize our dignitaries as well as our event team. One of the things that we do is make sure at any event that we have within Toastmasters that we recognize any leadership that has been in attendance at our events. So we talked about leadership at the club level, but I want to give you kind of a view of the opportunity for leadership that you have within Toastmasters. I feel like Toastmasters is usually synonymous with communication. People really think about public speaking, and sometimes that leadership piece hides in the shadow, but I want to bring it out of the shadow and bring it into the light, just because Toastmasters is such a phenomenal place for you to hone your leadership skills. So when we think about the club level, a couple of clubs make up an area. A couple of areas make up what we call a division. Several divisions make up what we call a district, and it keeps going on from there. We have a region, and it goes all the way up to the international level. I say all that to say that there are leadership opportunities at every single one of those notches. We've had people within our district that have served at the international level and at the region level as well. And it's an opportunity for one, for you to network, but two, for again, you to hone your leadership skills over a vast number of clubs as well as members within Toastmasters International. So we always take the chance and time to recognize those that have stepped up voluntarily to take on these district level roles whenever we're at events, just to recognize them for their service to our district. So we do currently have one district leader on the line. You all actually heard from her in her testimonial, as we like to call it. But I want to make sure that I recognize the District 44 Public Relations Manager, Distinguished Toastmaster Yolanda J. So Yolanda, thank you so much for joining us this evening, as well as sharing with us your story. We truly appreciate it. As I mentioned earlier as well, I have the pleasure as serving as District 44 Club Growth Director. So I'm super excited to bring Toastmasters to you all with my team this evening. I want to recognize my club extension team that helped put this event together as well. So you've heard from the majority of them this evening. So Toastmaster Natalie Higgins, who talked to you about developing your leaders within, who is also a distinguished Toastmaster. We have Toastmaster Barry that went over all of our Toastimonials this evening. Thank you, Barry. And we have Toastmaster Jessica that helped us out with Q&A as well. So I truly appreciate all of you and your dedication to the district, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Just in closing, I really, truly hope that you were able to glean information and you know just a little bit more about Toastmasters and how it could be beneficial to you as well as your community or your organization. We heard a bunch of different types of clubs throughout the time that we spent together this evening. We heard about a church club. We heard about former presidents being a part of clubs. We've heard about Cox Automotive and how it works in the corporate environment. So there's a place for Toastmasters literally everywhere, and we hope that you see the value in the organization. I want to hear from you all. What is one thing that you're looking forward to learning more about Toastmasters since we've done our presentation this evening? So what stood out to you today? What did you find to be insightful that you're going to take back to your community or to your organization? So drop that in the chat. And if you're a Toastmaster, I want to hear from you too. I know sometimes Toastmasters is brand new and we hear about it again and we think about why we joined and what that sparkle comes back in our eye. I can remember my first Toastmasters meeting and how much fun it was when we got to, especially the table topics. I was like, oh, I have found my people. These are my people and they are now stuck with me for life. So I want to hear from you all in the chat. What did you hear tonight that was inspiring? The Pathways program. Yes, Yolanda, I love Pathways. And again, now that we have it all in electronic format, you can really learn and grow from wherever you are. I love that. The church group, I like that as well, Jessica. So sometimes we don't think about where we use all of our communication and leadership skills. Sometimes we only think about work or school, but there are so many other different crevices of our life in which we need to be good communicators and in which we need to be great leaders. So I love the fact that we're looking at different places to create Toastmasters Club. And I love Jessica said, what a great way to grow with your family and faith. I love that as well. So getting something that you're really passionate about and joining it with Toastmasters. So now you can better articulate that faith to others because you've honed your communication skills. Mitchell, how the leadership and communication skills can impact students in my university through the university pillar of college to career. I love that. That's such a jump, Mitchell. So I'm glad that you mentioned that in the chat, that there is that kind of jump once you finish college and you're going into the workforce. There are some skills that you want to hone as you're looking for jobs after you graduated. So that's a great point. Toastmasters is extremely beneficial to students for that reason. David said the longevity of existing team members, continuous learning. I am absolutely a student of learning. I've never arrived when it comes to education. There is always something for you to learn. If you're hungry for learning, I'm telling you, Toastmasters is such a phenomenal place for you. And then Barry put 17 years, absolutely, still engaged, still excited, and still learning. So that is about our lovely Toastmaster, Yolanda Johnson, DTM, absolutely. So she's still growing, she's still learning, there's still more to do. And I love that she calls herself a junkie. That just cracks me up every time I hear it, because I relate to it, right? We're junkies together. And I love it, I love it. Well, thank you all so much for participating in all of your comments in the chat. I do want to make sure that I drop a quick survey inside of the chat. So you can leverage this survey if you have heard all that you need to hear, you're fired up about communication and about leadership, and you are ready to start make sure you copy that survey so that you have it. We will also make sure that we send out this survey to those that attended the event this evening as well, so that way you have it in your email. But we will love to hear from you, and we will love to bring Toastmasters into your world, wherever that may be. It could be church, it could be at work, and it could be at home, but we're happy to help you start your journey to being a better and more effective communicator and leader. With that, I want to thank you all so very much for your time. I always say this, and my team is probably going to roll their eyes, but time is one of the few things in life that we cannot get back. And we are so thankful that you took your time and spent it here with us. We are here for you if you have any questions. I've dropped my email address as well as my Club Extension Committee's email address into the chat, and we would love to hear from you and answer any additional questions that you may have after the event. Thank you so much, and we hope that you all have an amazing rest of your evening. Good night.